Hello, this is Skylar Rodriguez. Today is March 16th, 2018, and I will be discussing the functions and structure of the epithelial tissue, connective tissue, nervous tissue, and muscle tissue. Let me just stand this up there. Okay, so the first tissue that I will be discussing is the epithelial tissue. So the epithelial tissue basically lines both the outside and the inside of the body. So that is, where it is located. The outside of the body, I mean the skin. And then the inside of the body, I mean the internal lining of the cavity and the surfaces of blood vessels and just the organs throughout the body that it's lining. The functions of the epithelial tissue are including secretion, selected absorption, protection, and then there's transcellular transport and sensing. Epithelial tissue protects the body by forming layers of cells. These cells act as barriers between the environments, whether it is internal or external. The epithelial tissue are actually classified by numbers of the layers that they are defined by the shape of them. So the layers in which those cells are classified would either be simple epithelium, and the simple epithelium is single layers, whereas the stratified epithelium, that is multi-layered. So these cells that the layers are sitting on or covering, there's three principal cell shapes. So these cell shapes, which are associated with epithelial cells, are squamous epithelium. There's cuboidal epithelium and columnar epithelium. These shapes can again be arranged depending on the layer of the epithelium. So, which would be, the squamous, columnar, etc. Okay, so now that we are done with the epithelial tissue, I'll move on to the connective tissue. So the connective tissue is the most abundant tissue type within the body. So out of all the cell tissues, the connective tissue is the most abundant. The connective tissue provides support for internal tissues and organs. The connective tissue includes fiber tissues, fat tissues in general, cartilage, bone marrow, and blood. The connective tissue basically will bind the organs together as well as cushion the organs for protection and fill space in between each organ. The connective tissue consists of two types of connective tissue, which are proper and connective tissue proper and connective tissue special. So the connective tissue proper consists of loose tissue and dense tissue. The loose tissue is basically like for example, like the skin on your hand, how you can lift it up and it's loose skin. Whereas the dense tissue can be classified as the tendons on your muscles, the ligaments on bones. It's basically it's tighter tissue on the muscles or bones, the ligaments on the bones. So it's not loose. The connective tissue special will consist of cartilage, bones, bone marrow, and blood. Then we have the muscle tissue. The muscle tissue is located in different parts of the body. It's basically our movement. The three types of muscle tissue are skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. The skeletal muscle tissue basically will be classified as physical movement. So moving the arms, the legs, tilting the head, bending over to grab anything, basically anything physical would be in the category of muscle tissue. Of skeletal muscle tissue. Then you have smooth muscle tissue. That is unlike skeletal, which is a voluntary movement. Smooth muscle tissue is involuntary movement. The smooth tissue is found on organs, intestines. It can be found on the esophagus, the stomach, and although you can't see it moving or feel that it's working, it still is working, and that's why it's involuntary. And then we have the cardiac tissue, which, like the smooth tissue, it's involuntary muscle movement. The cardiac tissue is controlling the heart. So again, although you can't see or feel that it's moving, it is working and it is doing its job. Lastly, we have the nervous tissue. The nervous tissue is what helps us to control ourselves and to communicate from our brains to different parts of our bodies. It is the main component tissue of the body, and that is because it's the brain controlling what we need to do, whether it's sense something, feel pain, feel emotion. That's where the nervous tissue will be involved. The two types of nervous system, that would be the brain and the spinal cord. So that will consist of neurons. Without nervous tissue, then we would have no sensory output or input or output, and then we would have no control of our muscles, our glands. We would have no mental activity. So without the nervous tissue being in the nervous system, all the other tissues would not really matter, because that's what we need, especially with like the muscle tissue. The nervous tissue will work with that. But that's pretty much it. So thank you.